Hello, I had to restart my live video because we were having some technical difficulties. But I am here now and we are going to start reading the Something Shiny Journey. I am starting with chapter 1, mute it, Kim. I am starting with chapter 1, I Am Clean. And this is the book, The Something Shiny Journey. You can get it on our website at Two Girls in a Bible or on Amazon. But today we're reading chapter 1. I'm so excited to read my story with you guys. It all started when I found myself drowning in the depths of my depression. I spent my 20s going through intensive medicated therapy to try and deal with what happened to me in my childhood. It helped me cope with everyday life, but it never healed what was broken. This is where my journey begins. I had tried everything else before I ever gave God a chance. I always wondered why there was a place that yearned to be filled inside of me. I know that it's there because I can feel the emptiness. It screams to be heard, to be seen, to be loved. I have nothing, I am nothing, and yet the world around me says there is nothing that I lack. How difficult it is for me to see past what I show them. How simple it is to assume everything is okay. It's like second nature to judge the condition of one's heart by their exterior presentation. It is so effortless to be completely dependent on what is seen, believing in a truth that is riddled with perception, altered by experience, and deceived by broken hearts. The truth is, I have never learned how to compartmentalize my mind. I have a face for every situation, for every person in my life. I pour myself out like an open faucet to be consumed by their overwhelming need for control. But I know me. When the time comes, I will turn the faucet off. Then someone else will come along and drill a new hole inside my soul, inside my heart, consuming the living water they have found there. The cycle will repeat itself time and time again until there is nothing left but a dried, used up, old well, and I will find the end of myself in a season of drought and death. On the outside, it looks like I have it all together, but really I'm just a chameleon. I adapt to my environment, making it hard to decipher who or where I am. I am present, but I fade easily into the background. Now, the doctors can label me and say I'm bipolar, borderline, or have some kind of identity disorder, but I know who I am, and I know where I came from. I have an amazing ability to blend in. If I didn't know something, I just pretended like I did until I convinced those around me of the same. I guess that's how I got and kept great jobs. Accomplishments made me feel good. I was proud to be able to financially take care of myself after growing up so poor. The problem was the moments of feeling good were always temporal and never lasted, and I would find myself staring down the barrel of a loaded gun full of buckshot memories that shattered any hope for a future free from pain and mental anguish. It was as if my childhood swallowed up my life, shadowing over me, robbing me of any sunshine or rays of hope. Horrific images breaking through the surface of my reality would just show up out of nowhere, popping in and out of consciousness. Sometimes those images haunted me, but sometimes they had the power to carry me away. Just like right now, as I sit here and write to you, I find myself getting lost inside of memories of me when I was 8. Looking up at the sky, singing to the clouds, my gray skies will turn to blue someday. I can still hear the innocent, desperate attempt to assure myself it would all be okay. Then other times I would beg God to take me home. I would tell him through my suffering I didn't ask to be left alone, to be tossed aside or abandoned. I must have cried rivers full of tears trying to convince him I didn't belong here on this earth. I pleaded my case. He never came, but that didn't stop me from believing heaven was the only home and knowing he was the only one listening. I guess that gave me some kind of hope to hold on to, but more often than not, hope felt like a distant cousin. It only visited once in a while and often appeared in short crescents of time. It was in those moments that my mind got to be little again. I would stare up at the clouds to find little treasures dancing across the treetops, tossed about by the winds. Even as an adult, I found hope much like a child would. and the ladybugs that would land on me once in a while, or the beauty of the majestic butterfly wings. I could imagine riding their backs and flying away and disappearing into the sky, leaving my entire life behind. Hope became a way of escape for me. It allowed me to live in a place that was ever-changing. Every day I managed to find hope wherever I was. It didn't matter where I was left or who I got sent to, because I was always looking up at what was above me. I would find myself drifting away into the skies, the shifting clouds moving across the heavens, because they were always different. Not one day like the next. There was nothing like being caught up in a whirlwind of early morning sunrises. It was like the day's dawning pleased my soul as it promised me something new and filled me with the hope for a better tomorrow. An expectation of anything greater than myself offered me something to look forward to. It gave me a way of escape. I could leave my body behind, even if it were only temporary. I learned to survive, and it was heaven that helped me. The sky was above me and everything else was below me. At the same time, the skies had a weird way of grounding me because they were the only constant in my life, unlike people. It didn't matter how ugly it got outside or the darkest, on the gloomiest, on the most overcast days, the skies never lied. They told me exactly how they felt. They were faithful like that. I knew when they would cry or when they would feel or when they would be full of sunlit joy. Unlike people who could be happy one minute and angry the next. They could be here one minute and gone the next. So as a child, empty promises became normal, and I learned to cling to whoever was there. I was never too sure how long they would be around or how long I would be with them. I learned quickly, hope in people would always let me down, but the skies never did. It's no surprise that after a while, I lost my childlike mind and hope seemed to escape me. Instead, I became a prisoner of people. It was never their fault, but I watched them carefully. I found security in pleasing them. It was like a disguise. I mimicked them and became a perfect replication of who they were, parroting back exactly what they wanted in order to manipulate their love for me. In some areas of my life, it worked. I was often promoted to supervisory type roles in my jobs, but in other areas it became incredibly degrading and volatile. I was so desperate to be something to someone that I would become mesmerized by those who said the words, "I love you." I would put them on a hill, raising their stature above my own, allowing them to dictate my feelings with an expectation that they would be my Prince Charming. I was always waiting for the one who was sent to save me, the one who would make me whole. I had never felt that way before, whole, complete, as if nothing were missing. I had always felt a gaping hole, an empty part of me, anxious to be filled, as if my entire person were an empty kingdom waiting for a king. It is no surprise, no bolt from the blue, that I accepted anyone who stepped up to the throne and answered the desperate cries of a broken little girl, all grown up. Yes, that was me. I spent my life pleading to be loved, answering the calls from anyone willing to be king over me and complete what was broken inside of me. It was me who chose to be fulfilled by the distorted desires of a life found in pleasing someone else. It was me who felt as though I wanted to crawl inside their skin and exist only in them. The truth is, that was my goal. I wanted to be lost in a love that I could only fantasize about. I had no identity. I didn't know what love was. I had never felt it, and any glimpse of what love could look like was taken from me. My only recourse was to become everything they wanted me to be, but that always left me on the same lonely road. I would choose to lose myself in someone else, giving all of myself, including any form of who I thought I might be, only to end up resenting them for it. The truth is, the only throne I ever served was a self-serving throne, a throne that was disguised as selfless, always laying down my wants and desires to become a servant to theirs in hopes that my servitude would somehow gain what I could not even express I wanted. I had chained myself to servitude, a servitude bound by unrealistic expectations. I gave all of myself away, expecting to be made whole, but it left me with hatred in my heart, not towards others, but towards myself. I served one God, the God of hatred. I spent my life worshiping at the thrones of depression, self-loathing, and hatred in complete solidarity to commit violence against myself. I hated me, and there was nothing anyone could do to change that. I could not stand the sight of myself. I scraped and clawed at my face. I spoke unspeakable things, slashing my heart into a million pieces with my words. I didn't need anyone else's help. I was fully capable of hurting myself, of tightening the chains of self-obliteration. I was broken, and all I could see was my brokenness. I was focused on my pain and nothing but my pain. And that became my giant. It was my Goliath. And against it, I was losing every single time. I lost when I beat myself in the head with my fist. I lost when I spent hours contemplating my suicide and sometimes trying it. I lost when I looked for any token of love, desperate for something, for anything or anyone, to bow to my knee to be accepted. The truth is, I never felt worthy of love. Who could love someone like me? My entire life screamed from the top of its lungs, "You are worthless, disposable, without value. No one could love you, not even your own mother." The truth is, life chose me, but I didn't choose it. I did not choose to be born in a family riddled with abuse and addiction. It was not my choice to be abandoned, neglected, and mistreated. It was not my fault that the one thing I was supposed to have and didn't get was love. I was fashioned for pure love. Not the kind that is consumed by self-gratification. I was created for unconditional love, not the kind that is skewed in a magnificent display of smoke and mirrors. I had an innate ability to understand the kind of love I had become accustomed to was not the kind of love I was made for. I knew what I wanted, but instead I settled for any resemblance of love I could find. In a desperate attempt to be loved, I answered yes to every ugly memory in my life. The echoes from the chaos I accepted from every action of every person screamed louder and louder into my consciousness. I could no longer drown out the voices that brought themselves into my reality as I agreed to be obedient and became a slave to dysfunction. I got what I asked for. I asked for a king to reign over my heart and control me in exchange for the hope that I might find happiness. Instead, what I found inside the heart of another was the crushing sensation of an unrequited love. The kind of love I wanted, I could not find. That never stopped the chronic desire for it. The craving for a pure, unconditional love drove me into the arms of my suffering. I learned very quickly that love equaled pain, and without pain, there was no love. This created some sort of slanted longing from inside me to torture, twist, and distort what love really is, and it all started from being a child of addiction. I may not remember much of those days, but I clearly remember desperately wanting to be loved from a mother that chose her addiction over me every time. I wanted to be loved by the people that I lived with or was left with. I wanted to be loved by my aunts and uncles, my grandparents and cousins. I wanted to be loved by the only father I knew but was taken from. I wanted to be loved. I wanted the kind of love that would keep me no matter what, the kind that doesn't leave. I wanted to be valued and treasured. I wanted to be loved innocently from a place of purity and not perversion. But what I wanted existed only in the desperate, deserted places hidden deep beneath the emptiness inside of me. The desire for love was so great that without even realizing it, I had invited my abusers from my childhood into my bedroom daily. Every relationship was a reflection of a past I was desperately trying to run from. Instead, "I will love you if" became a way of life. I was so desperate to be loved that I recognized love through the distorted lenses of shattered hopes and whimsical dreams. I truly believed that without the presence of pain, love was unattainable. I had to feel it, to be touched by it. I needed a sensory overload to reach beneath the pain I caused myself in order for me to experience it. I was broken, and nothing I tried put me back together. No relationship, No therapy, no friendship, no amount of success, and no amount of pain. Nothing worked. It was not until I was at the end of myself, when I felt like I had nothing left, that the opportunities to give God a chance came knocking at my door, or should I say my shower door. It was the strangest thing. I wasn't expecting it, neither did I plan for it to happen. It just happened. And it all started with me feeling like my life was over, or at least I wanted it to be. There was nothing that could satisfy the depth of loneliness inside of me. I opened the door to the shower as the steam cascaded out into the air. I stepped inside to reach for the faucet as my mind told me to make it hotter. I knew it could never get hot enough, but I turned the nozzle as far as it would go. I had no strength to fight them anymore, but the utterance from my mouth broke forth from the clutches of my lip as these words escaped me. Take it from me, please, because I don't want this life anymore. I held a razor blade in my hand as I cried out to God with the other. My words broke free from the prison inside my soul as I said to the Father of all creation, if you are real, save me from myself. The shower never touched or cleansed the depth of my sufferings. The hollowness from inside of me spilt out onto that shower floor as I fell to my knees and in full surrender to a Savior I never knew. In that moment, a deity I once sang to as a small child showed up. His grace blanketed me because I was too weak to fight. Too weak for hatred, too weak for pain, but in my weakness, he gave me strength to face the truth. The truth about all the pain I had put myself through. Jesus not only heard me, but he saw me there. He came and sat with me on that shower floor. It was Jesus who never shuddered at all of my ugly truths, but instead, he loved me there. It was him who met me on the shower floor, right where I was, alone, empty, and hollow. My soul bore the darkened truth of my past. It was a truth I could not hide from. It was the truth that stole my entire life and the very truth I tried so hard to run from. I felt as though he covered me with the blanket of his grace. Right there, surrounded by the iridescent clouds of steam with the force of showered droplets beating down on my back, he found me. He held me there as he showed me a memory from when I was 12. My mom had taken me for my first abortion. At the time, I had no idea the depth of pain it would cause me. I didn't know that on that same day, a gaping hole would be torn open inside of my soul. A hole that could never be filled by the hopes of finding love, because I had just lost the most natural form of unconditional love that was ever created. The love between a mother and her unborn child. My womb had become a tomb, and I didn't even understand what had just happened to me. I did not understand that this ripple in time would vibrate horizontal transverse waves throughout the next 18 years of my life. I didn't know it would ruin the ability for me to feel loved, because the one person in the universe who was supposed to protect me was relieved when she had just destroyed part of me. But the truth is, she didn't know either. Between the heat and the water pounding on my back, I felt as if it cleansed every ounce of pain my soul had ever suffered. I cried as he gave me the greatest gift ever given to mankind. He gave me the gift of repentance, and with each breath, I confessed every abortion that came into my mind. My heart was so hard, and I didn't even know why. I didn't know my pain, suffering, and self-hatred came from the death of my unborn children. I didn't know the choice I made actually stole self-value and worth from me. I didn't know with each death I died a little more each time. I didn't know until that moment abortion caused me so much pain. My mouth felt as though it didn't belong to me. Its confessions bellowed out from the depths of my soul as I asked him to forgive me for every single abortion I ever had. I watched the painful memory of the death that I had caused go down that drain. Each and every tear was washed away for the first time in my life. I actually felt clean. As I stood to my feet, getting up from the shower floor, I felt like the weight of air, 1,000 pounds lighter. The world had been lifted from my shoulder, my body as light as a feather. I stepped out to dry off and grabbed the towel to wrap around me. Time felt like it stood still as if caught inside of a trance in slow motion. I turned to leave, and reality came flooding back. I watched my hand reach out to take hold of the bathroom doorknob, and just as I did that, I understood. I was stepping back into the very situation I had wanted to run from. My abuser was waiting on the other side of that door. I forgot I had brought him with me. I had brought the pain of my childhood with me, and I chose to live with him every day. The moments of abuse came flooding back. Of the three of us lined up on the couch as he paraded. The moments of abuse came flooding back. The three of us lined up on the couch as he paraded our mother out in front of us. We watched him twist and turn her wrist upwards behind her back and slammed her face into the wall, and I wanted to cry, but I knew I couldn't. I was not allowed to show him my weakness. He had trained us well as he described to us the color and the smell of fresh blood. He's pulled his gun out from the waist of his jeans and pointed it to her head. He told us the power behind a bullet held enough velocities to splatter her brains across the living room wall. All I could think of, my heart pounding my throat, was, please, God, no. He's hurting my mommy. And I was too small to make a difference, too afraid to scream for help. I was frozen, much like what I am right now. As I walked out of the bathroom, I knew nothing in my life had changed, but my whole world had changed. I stepped into the bedroom. The ashy smell of cigarettes saturated my lungs. The filth of my life was all around me. I couldn't instantly change the decisions that had brought me into this place. I couldn't snap my fingers and make my circumstances disappear, but I knew I would never again try to scrub away the dirtiness of my soul with soap and water, because I had finally been made clean. No spot, no blemish, no stain. I wasn't tarnished or discolored. I felt the brilliance of his light illuminating the radiance of my soul. I felt as if I had been clothed in white with an oversized garment that dangled from every limb and whispered in every part of me that I am clean. So that is the first chapter of the Something Shiny journey. There's a little emotion there because when we bring up old things, sometimes that can happen. But the truth is that the magnificent part of that chapter is that it really describes the place that I was in mentally. And that's really what I hope to share in that chapter. I wanted people to know the depth of my mental torture in that chapter, and how in the end, God, I felt clean after an encounter with Christ. I felt 1,000 pounds lighter. And for the first time in my life, nothing else mattered. The only thing that mattered was I was clothed by his grace, and that he accepted me, and Jesus showed me that he loved me. And he loved me in my mess, and he loves you too. God bless you guys. I can't wait until tomorrow when we can meet again, and we'll be reading chapter 2 of the Something Shiny journey. And the name of that chapter is, let me check. The Truth Shall Set Me Free. So I am so excited about reading The Truth Shall Set Me Free. If you want to read along with us, you can get your copy at Amazon or at our website at www.twogirlsinabible.org, and make sure you're liking and commenting. And we're going to be uploading this to YouTube, so it will be available to share. I know that this is a paid online event, but it's really like a testing ground. So we're excited. Thank you, Krista Ray and Kim, for you guys joining me here today. And just know that this is just the beginning. God, this is going to get really, really good. So I love you, ladies, and I will speak to you soon. God bless you. Mwah.